When it comes to talking about Drag Race, a lot of people, myself included, talk about the queens' production favors. Today though, I'm going to be talking about the queens who got screwed over, not by production, but by random, chance, and dumb bad luck. To keep things topical, the first unlucky queen that I will be talking about from season 16 is Dawn. We are 8 episodes in, and Dawn's run on season 16 can perfectly be described by the phrase good, not great. Dawn has had 3 high placements and 5 safe placements. For reference, the first high placement comes from the Rated Queen. She was rated 3rd, which in my book means she was high. She has been doing consistently good in a lot of these challenges, and while she struggled a bit in RDR Live and in the Snatch Game, it was never bottom 2 worthy, maybe bottom 3 at worst. Overall, Dawn has just been doing a good job on this season. The unlucky part comes from this being season 16. I believe Dawn would be doing infinitely better if she was on almost any other season. Taking a look at the looks from the ball, Dawn did well. It's not the greatest look ever. I don't think her elf aesthetic works the best with this, but it's not a bad look. Compared to a queen like Nymphia Wind or Q, this is the definition of safe. Dawn had an overall very cohesive runway package that we just didn't really get to see shine because of this cast. I will say though, the edit did acknowledge this fact, as for a lot of the ball episode, it was being pushed that Q and Dawn are the strongest seamstresses of the cast. This lack of luck continues on into the second sewing challenge of the season, which was the doll design challenge. The top 3 of the week are Q, Dawn, and Plain. It is very clear based off the judging and critiques. Q is first, Dawn is second, Plain is third. Whether you agree with that, that is very obviously what RuPaul thought, meaning if Dawn was on another season, she could have taken home the win. This was a very well executed look. There was a slight issue with the headpiece, but apart from that, it is a great runway. This unlucky streak continued into the third and hopefully final design challenge, which was the Goth Week. In this challenge, the clear tops of the week are Q, Dawn, Nymphia, and Saphira. Saphira didn't fully meet the prompt of Goth, so I'm going to be looking at Q, Dawn, and Nymphia. Q did an incredible job with the sewing this week. As for fitting the theme, that is where she struggled a bit, and while she did get the win, it is very controversial. With Q out of the way, second place, I've seen a lot of people debating between Dawn and Nymphia. I'm gonna give it to Dawn. While the fabric did not do her any favors in terms of showing intricate details, Dawn's look is the literal definition of the fairy goth subgenre of goth fashion. Dawn did an incredible job combining her aesthetic with the theme, and while she did not get the win over Q, I would put her as second or third place, and in another season, Dawn absolutely, once again, could have taken home a win. Taking a look at some of the recent winning design looks, I mean, Dawn could beat all of this. Gottmik's look was bad. George's look looked great in the end, but the design of it was very basic. Then we have Willow, best look of these 3, but based off what we've seen from Dawn, I'm willing to say that Dawn could have gone toe-to-toe with this. If Dawn had been on season 15, 14, 13, she could have at least 2 wins at this point. She is a very talented seamstress and artist, but unfortunately due to the people she was cast against, it just never came to be. Another incredibly unlucky queen is Alexis Mateo. Alexis competed on All-Stars 1 and 5 and was screwed by a twist both times. On All-Stars 1, I'm not delusional. Team Yar Alexis was probably never winning, but I will say that Alexis was slightly screwed by this. While in the challenges, they were roughly equal, with Yara maybe being the stronger of the pair, being tethered to Yara Sophia in a lip sync is always a bad choice. Yara, across her 3 seasons of Drag Race, has gone 0 for 4 in terms of lip syncs. If the queens were competing individually, I don't think Alexis was going to win, but she maybe could have lip synced her way a bit further. Having to split a lip sync in half with Yara is just not a recipe for success. The main issues for Alexis come in episode 6, which is Snatch Game. This is not a good week for Alexis. due to the fact that production was pushing Shea and Jujubee over Alexis, and if you're not in the top, you're in the bottom. Alexis places in the bottom with India, Jujubee, Cracker, and Blair. This is not inherently bad, as Alexis has a very good social standing within the cast. She is well liked by most people, and she has never been in the bottom. This puts her in a much better position than someone like Cracker, India, or Blair. Sadly though, India Farah decides to throw Alexis under the bus. I don't know why, I don't know what she thought she was going to accomplish, but India blames Alexis for trying to vote out Shea. It does not work. This entire episode just results in needless drama, but it's not inherently bad for Alexis. In the end, India is voted out 5-1. After this episode, Alexis's name is tainted. There is literally nothing she can do until the season airs to fully redeem herself or fully gain back the trust of Shea, Juju, Cracker, and Blair. There just really isn't a future for Alexis in the competition. It really sucks because every single week Alexis was there, she did a good job. It just didn't matter. Because of what India did, Alexis's entire game was tanked, no one trusted her, and she was voted out 4-1 in the ball. It is a very sad end to Alexis's run and really undeserved. If the "if you're not in the top, you're in the bottom" twist had waited a single additional week, Alexis probably could have made it to the end. Next on All-Star 6 is Trinity K. Bonet. This is one of the saddest entries on this list. For the first 7 episodes of this season, Trinity K. Bonet was doing great. Yes, she did kind of mess up a bit in the variety show, but she fully redeemed herself throughout the rest of this arc. She had a very good performance in the ball, only being out of the top due to one of her looks from home not being up to par. She then had a great performance in the advertising challenge, getting her first ever challenge win, and while she did lose the lip sync to Laganja, she gave one of the strongest losing lip sync performances we have ever seen. Then she did great in the Rusical. A lot of people thought she was robbed. I'm personally Team Jan, but it absolutely helped her standing in the fanbase to be quote-unquote robbed of a win early on. She went on to have a very good and vulnerable episode in the Pink Table Talk. She was fine in the acting challenge, and she absolutely slayed girl groups. At this point, it is Trinity's game to lose, and everyone knows it. Then the Snatch Game rolls around, and Trinity gets into her head and bombs. This is her second time in the bottom, and she is voted to stay 5-1. Things are still going well for Trinity, but now, if you are not in the top, you are in the bottom. This could not be worse news for Trinity, as she has already been in the bottom twice, so any additional bottom is a huge risk for her. This is exactly what happens. Trinity places, let's be honest, second in that design challenge, but due to the "if you're not in the top, you're in the bottom" twist, Trinity now has 3 bottoms, only 2 of which are deserved. Thankfully, Trinity is saved in a 4-1 vote. All of this would be fine, and Trinity probably would have taken home the season if it were not for the returning queen twist. The literal second Trinity found out someone was coming back, she was done. She knew the writing was on the wall and that she was very likely going home next. And whether this was a self-fulfilling prophecy or not, Trinity did go home at Final 5. Another of the unluckiest queens ever is Shangela on All-Stars 3. For the first stage of the competition, Shangela is doing great. She has 2 wins, a high, and a safe. And she has never done badly. Episode 5 rolls around, and it is the ball. Shangela absolutely bombs and places in the bottom, but she is kept by BB and Trixie, and probably would have been kept by everyone else there. So far, things are going well. Things stay around the same when she is in the bottom for girl groups. I think this is fair if you are doing a bottom this week. Great performance though, and she ends out the competitive portion of the season with a win. Good job so far, but now we're at the finale. While it is probably for the better that she did not win, Shangela does lose. Out of literally nowhere, a jury twist is announced where the 6 voted out queens will pick the final 2. This is not inherently game-ending for Shangela, as she had no part in the eliminations of Aja, Dela, or Milk. Shangela is the one who eliminated Chi-Chi, Thorgy, and Morgan. This means that Shangela had a part in sending home half the jury. Unlike in Survivor, where you could use that strategic prowess to your advantage, this is Drag Race, where people don't view it like that. I think Shangela would have played a much different game if the jury had been announced earlier, and I think that lack of warning really screwed her. I will say again though, it is probably for the best that Shangela did not win. Next up, and this is going to be a shorter entry, is Cornbread on season 14. Cornbread started off the season with a great performance in the talent show, one of the best written raps we've heard almost ever. Then she had two safe-ish performances in the ball and the super cheese. I would have put her as safe both weeks, she was doing fine. Then she gets medevaced. Production, based off these 3 episodes, very much wanted Cornbread at the end. They very much wanted her to win, and I think, based off what we saw, Cornbread was taking this home. I know she was eliminated very early for me to be saying this, but I stand by it. If Cornbread stayed and didn't make it to the end on her own merits, production would have pushed her there. There was no way she wasn't making it to the end if she never got medevaced. Very unlucky and very bad timing. It is also bad timing that she was not invited back for season 15. Speaking of season 15, we have a lot of unlucky queens this season. First up, Anitra. Anitra is an incredibly talented drag queen, one of the best lip syncers we have ever seen. She started out the gate with a great talent show, one of the most iconic moments of the season. Then she floated around the season with a few bad and a few good performances and ended pretty strong with a great musical and a solid makeover. If Sasha Colby was not on this season, I think Anitra would have won. This is also the case for Luxx. Luxx had an insane amount of charisma, polish, talent, natural ability. She was born to do drag. If Luxx was on literally any other season, she is winning in a landslide. The only challenge in this entire season where Luxx faltered was the makeover, and she had a great lip sync after it. She just has such natural talent, and it sucks that the fanbase and production weren't fully able to appreciate that. Next is Lucy. This is another queen with a lot of presence, a lot of polish. If Lucy was on another season, I think she could have won. She had a great musical, a great snatch game. She was very consistently good in comedy challenges. While some of her runways were a bit on the lacking side, Lucy is a very talented queen, and once again, I think she could have won any season if Sasha Colby was not there. It is incredibly unlucky that you finally get your chance on Drag Race after auditioning for years, and who walks in but Sasha Colby? The final queen of the season who had legitimate win equity if Sasha was gone or if she was on another season is Mistress. Mistress, for being as young as she is, has such a unique and beautiful take on drag. She has a lot of natural talent with her comedy, with her sewing. I've no doubt that when she comes back for All Stars, she will slay, and I don't doubt for a second that if you translated Mistress's exact performance over to another season, she probably would have won. I do feel bad saying that Sasha Colby was like a bad luck charm for these queens, but she is relatively objectively the reason they lost. Those 4 queens would have been the final 4, and it would have been pretty even. I would have given it to Anitra, but really, it's not really fair having to compete against Sasha Colby. I'm glad she got to compete, she was a joy to watch, but it wouldn't have been unfair, in my opinion, to just give her a crown and let her help judge the season, because it really wasn't a fair fight, and that really sucks. Hey, it's Drag Race Rejudged. Do you want gay Well then check out the RuPaul's Drag Race Rejudged YouTube channel and hit subscribe.